Hi, this is Theo from Blockx.com. Today I want to talk about the different blue colors that I use for my watercolor sketches. And in this particular palette, they are located somewhere at the bottom right. So let me show you what they are. Let's take a look at the box and the watercolors that I'm going to use today. This is actually a Winsor & Newton box, but I have since replaced all the colors inside with Blockx watercolor. Blockx is spelled as B-L-O-C-K-X. Blockx is a manufacturer from Belgium, so they also make watercolors, and these are the colors that I'm going to show you today. I'm using this particular palette because it has all the blues that I want to show you. Here we have Phthalo Blue, Prussian Blue, French Ultramarine, Cobalt Blue, and Cerulean Blue, or some variation of those blue colors. Phthalo Blue is a very intense color. You just need a little bit of water, a little bit of pigment, and you can get a really intense, you can lay down a very intense wash. So I only dip a bit into the pigment, and that is how intense it got. So next blue I'm going to use is Prussian Blue. Prussian Blue is, I think, a warm version of the blue. For this brand Blockx, it's quite difficult to pick up the color. It doesn't dissolve that well. Anyway, Prussian Blue is not a blue that I use very often because I find that I would go for French Ultramarine instead. But Phthalo Blue is actually a color that I use pretty often, and it wasn't like that in the start, because my favorite is French Ultramarine. My favorite was French Ultramarine until I went for a Bali trip where I actually ran out of French Ultramarine and I have to use Phthalo Blue. So that's when I got a sense of appreciation for Phthalo Blue. So this is Ultramarine. It's a warm version of the blue because it has a tinge of red inside, and it's much warmer when you compare it to Phthalo Blue. Phthalo Blue is definitely more vibrant and much brighter. So these two are the blues that I always use, Ultramarine and Phthalo Blue. Later on I'm going to show you the different mixtures you can get from all these blues. Cobalt Blue is a blue that is somewhere between warm and cool. So it's a nice standard blue color to use. If you just want to use one blue color, maybe you can go for Cobalt Blue. Let me zoom out a bit. So this is Cobalt Blue. Also not a color that I use very often. And the reason is because most box sets that you get when you buy outside stuff like this, they usually come with French Ultramarine or Prussian Blue plus Phthalo Blue. So usually they do not come with Cobalt Blue, and that's the reason. The last color I want to show you is Cerulean Blue. It's a very nice blue. Many artists like to use this blue for the skies. It also has a very nice granulating texture to it, just like French Ultramarine, which is very heavily granulating, and it's the granulation that really makes the color very interesting. Later on I'll zoom in to show you the granulation. So this is I would say a more, well, candy-like blue that is pretty suitable for skies and stuff like that. Okay, so let me try some mixtures with blue, all these blues that I've showed you just now. Phthalo Blue is one of my favorite blue colors. I know a lot of artists, they do not like Phthalo Blue because it's too intense. It's also a very staining color, so once you lay it down, you cannot use, it's very difficult to lift it up. What I mean is something like this. For example, you want to lay down some wash and you find that it's a mistake and you want to use some paper towel to lift it, it can be quite difficult to lift up once it's dry or semi-dry. But now it seems to be okay, but you still see some shades of the blue underneath. One of my favorite mixtures for Phthalo Blue is actually with red colors. So I'm going to mix now Phthalo Blue with, let's say, some Alizari Crimson, I think. Let me just use the crimson here because I don't know what those colors are. There are too many and I just forget what they are. This is with Alizari Crimson. So you get a nice intense shade of purple. But my most common mixture with Phthalo Blue is actually with the warm red color like Phthalo Blue and transparent prior orange, or maybe even a cadmium red like this. So let's try and mix cadmium red. So once you mix cadmium red with a Phthalo Blue, you get a very dark, intense color that can go very black. I think it might not be very clear here, but I'm going to show you an example from my sketch later on that uses this combination. Okay, I'm going to just skip Prussian Blue because it's very difficult to dissolve. Let's go to Ultramarine next. Ultramarine is a very nice color that I use very often to create gray colors. I'm going to use the Ultramarine from this particular box. I just want to use this up. So with Ultramarine, I like to use it with burnt sienna. Burnt sienna is some sort of a brown, orange, red, warm earth tone color. And with Ultramarine, you can get a very beautiful granulating gray color. I think this is, yeah. So you can see the Ultramarine immediately becomes darker when you apply burnt sienna, when you add burnt sienna to it a bit more. Let's try and mix some green colors with the cobalt blue and see how it looks like. So I just use some lemon yellow or warm yellow. This is if you don't mix them completely, you get to see both colors. And this is the green that you can get with cool yellow and cobalt blue. It's not very dark. It's because I think cobalt blue is not a very dark color. Let me add more cobalt and see what happens. So it's not very, I'll say, intense. It's a bit muted. This green is definitely a bit muted as compared to, let's say, if I were to use the same yellow with Phthalo Blue. So this yellow is definitely more yellow, and you add more Phthalo Blue, you get a very bright green as compared to this green here, which is much duller. So that's cobalt blue for you. The other color that is very interesting, the last color, is actually Cerulean Blue. It has a very interesting granulating texture. Let me zoom in for you. So you can see that it dries up with all this very interesting texture pattern, and that is something I find very attractive about Cerulean Blue. Let's try and make some green colors as well. This time I'm going to use a warmer version of the yellow. I'm not sure again what color this is. This looks a bit warmer. So my color theory or my color preference is, well, I don't have any color preference. I just use whatever that I have. Okay, this one I want to add it with Cerulean Blue. Cerulean Blue is a bit difficult to dissolve as well. This is the green that you can get. So it's actually quite close to Phthalo Blue because Cerulean Blue feels a bit cooler as well. So let me add more Cerulean Blue and let's just see the shade. Let's compare this mixture of yellow with French Ultramarine also. So I'm going to mix the same yellow, this warm yellow with Ultramarine. So this green is much warmer, and if you add even more Ultramarine it will appear even warmer. I use this green for darker foliages. That's all the mixtures I want to show you. Of course you can mix the blues with the reds, but maybe I'll just mix one blue with the red. The most common mixture with blue and reds would be Ultramarine and Alizari Crimson. That is going to give you the brightest purple violet you will see. This is Ultramarine and Alizari Crimson. Alizari Crimson is a very common color, and this is the purple that you will get with that combination. And of course, just now Phthalo Blue and Alizari Crimson will give you this version. If you mix, let's say, cadmium red with Ultramarine, you're going to get something that is much warmer. So this is cadmium red and Ultramarine. Yep, so it's much warmer. This is my Bali sketchbook. Let's take a look at some example. I used Phthalo Blue for the sky plus some other color that I cannot remember. And for the gray colors here, it's probably French Ultramarine plus burnt sienna. And for this particular Bali trip, I knew that I was going to run out of French Ultramarine very fast because French Ultramarine, sometimes you need to use a bit more pigment to get the intensity, and when you get more pigment, you get to use that pigment up very fast. So halfway through the trip, even before halfway, I knew that I'm going to run out. That's why I started using Phthalo Blue more often. And that is also when I realized that I can just use whatever blues that I have. It doesn't have to be my favorite color. French Ultramarine used to be my favorite color, but nowadays I think it's Phthalo Blue. This is a sketch colored with Phthalo Blue for the sky. So as I started using Phthalo Blue more, I liked it more and more. But you really have to mix Phthalo Blue well enough because it's such a bright color. For example, here I use Phthalo Blue for the skies as well. Here I use Phthalo Blue for the sky and for Ultramarine again for the shadowed areas. When you use Phthalo Blue for the skies, you're not going to get granulating effects like Ultramarine. So if you want a very moody sky, a sky that is about to rain, a stormy sky with dark clouds, then Ultramarine is a better choice because you get the granulation, you get the moody effect. But if you want a clear blue sky, then Phthalo Blue is a much better choice, at least for me. This particular sketch is drawn with Phthalo Blue and I think some red color. I mixed Phthalo Blue with that particular red, which I cannot remember what, but anyway, when you mix Phthalo Blue with a red, you get a very dark, almost black color. So that is what I got here. So I like this color very much because it's just so easy to mix, and you get the intensity and it really brings out the contrast. So I usually mix phthalo blue with red to get that sort of dark color. And this one, I think it's also phthalo blue with some red. Because I cannot see any granulation, so I don't think this is ultramarine, but this is very likely to be phthalo blue, even though you don't see the intensity, the bright blue there. When I first started sketching, I used a lot of convenient green colors like sap green, olive green, and phthalo green. But nowadays, I prefer to mix my greens with yellow and blue because you get more interesting variations. You get the subtle shifts in the shades. That is why I show you a lot of green mixtures today. So let us recap. This is phthalo blue, a very bright blue that I personally like to mix with warm red to get the very dark colors. Then I have Prussian blue that I do not use often because the alternative is much better. The alternative is French ultramarine that a lot of artists love. I also love it because of the granulating texture, and it produces very beautiful grays when you mix it with burnt sienna. And if you do not mix it cleanly enough, you can still see blue, the ultramarine showing through and the burnt sienna showing through. So it's a very beautiful shade of gray that you can create there. Cobalt blue is also a very nice blue, but I don't use it often because it does not come, it's not a common color that comes with standard set palettes. But it's still a pretty decent, very good blue color to choose. Cerulean blue is my next favorite color, so my favorite colors are ultramarine, phthalo, and cerulean blue. Cerulean blue has a very nice granulating texture as well. You can use it to mix with yellow to produce a very bright green, and because of the granulating texture, your green will have the granulating patterns as well. You will be able to see the yellow show through, and you will see the granulating blue showing through. So that is really very interesting. So these are the blues that I use, but I don't use all of them. Usually it's just phthalo blue and ultramarine. That's all for today's video. I want to hear comments as well. Tell me what is your favorite blue color and what is the blue that you don't use as often. Maybe after watching this video you can go back and use whatever blues that you have and tell me what you learned from using the blue that you don't use often. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel because I have more sketching tips, techniques, sketchbook features, and product reviews for you. Thanks and have a nice day. See you next time.